Hey guys, what is up? My name is PandaMaster, and welcome to my spoiler-free review of Superman and Lois, Episode 1. We got the pilot. And so, I have a lot of thoughts about this show. I watched it the night it aired, and then, I'm just now getting around to being able to talk about it at length, and so I'm gonna keep it spoiler-free because I want you guys to watch this show. It is so flippin' good. Oh my gosh. So, I am something of a lapsed Arrowverse watcher. I've seen the first, I'm just gonna say, I've seen like the first 3.5 seasons of Arrowverse. And what I mean by that is I have seen the first 2 seasons of Arrow, I've seen the first 3.5 seasons of Arrow technically, and then, every corresponding show with that, meaning like I got season 2 of The Flash and most of the way through season 1 of Supergirl, and I started Legends of Tomorrow and all that stuff. I eventually just gave up because it's such a huge commitment, and the shows, while for me as a superhero fan I'm entertained by them, they just aren't satisfying enough to warrant that much of a commitment. And so I just couldn't do it. It's just a lot. Again, it's a lot of commitment. And so I dropped off. I actually did, though, just here recently, binge through the first season of Batwoman. So that was something I did. Although, and I did watch the Crisis on Infinite Earths event. And that was the first time I legitimately saw Tyler Hoechlin. I probably mispronounced that. I'm so sorry, Mr. Tyler. I'm gonna so sorry. It's funny because I know him from Teen Wolf, so when he was first casted on this, I was like, the big scruffy dude from Teen Wolf is playing Superman. I'm still not necessarily 100% sold after seeing this and, Crisis on Infinite Earths, but he's alright. He's not necessarily my favorite Superman, but I don't hate him, right? And I think that there's definitely plenty of room for him to, become better in my eyes. Like, I'm not condemning him in any way. I think he's just fine. But yeah, Crisis on Infinite Earths was the first time I saw him in earnest. And then now I'm seeing this, which, doesn't really, it is a part of the Arrowverse, but as far as the pilot is concerned, it could care less about what's going on, It makes a reference to Superwoman, and that's about as close as it gets, even though Superwoman doesn't exist to my knowledge in the Arrowverse yet. But Superwoman, Supergirl, that's literally as close as it gets, so that tells you how much. And so this is very standalone for people worried about, not knowing what's going on in terms of the Arrowverse. But anyway, let's talk about this. In terms of CW shows, like I said, they're very ambitious, almost a little too much for their own good. And this show is essentially the great parts about past Arrowverse shows and Smallville. That's essentially what this is, which makes sense because this is the same network that came out with Smallville. I know it's different because you have different crew and that sort of thing, but the CW had Smallville. Well, technically the WB had Smallville, and then the CW took over. But we had this from the same network, and now I think after the huge kerfluffle that is the DCEU and, just a lot of failed projects or lackluster projects on CW side of things, I think they kind of wanted to go for more of a safe bet. And it's interesting too, because when I heard about this show when it was first announced, I'm like, man, they're really going for some cash grabs here. Like a Superman and Lois show about them raising teenagers, like what? But it's so good. Like, it literally is Smallville meets the Arrowverse. Like it is a Smallville Arrowverse show. That is what this show is. It's really, really good. Huge shout out to let me figure out his name. Where the hell is he? Alex Garfin as Jordan Kent. So basically, Jordan is, as far as I'm aware, a new character in the DC universe. Yeah, so Jonathan Kent has been in the DC universe since 2015, but Jordan Kent is completely new. So this one is, there we have twin boys instead of just with one son. So this is breaking new ground for the DC universe. But Jonathan Kent is the current Superboy in the DC universe, right? And I'm not gonna spoil anything here, but it is very interesting to see, these boys' role in this, because it's just as much about them, right? I don't think the name Super Family or Superman and Lois and Jonathan and Jordan are as catchy, so I understand why they went with Superman and Lois, but yeah, I think overall, like, in terms of that title, while I'm thinking about it, I spent a lot of the pilot trying to basically scrutinize the show and be like, in terms of the title itself, of like, how much is Lois actually going to be involved? And I think she is, but in terms of like just a really heavily involved supporting character, if that makes any sense, And I'm not saying this is exactly how the show is going to play out the entire time, but this is definitely a Superman show that happens to also have his family. And again, if anything, this is about Superman and the twins, not Superman and Lois. But, Lois is obviously a big part of it still. I just think, for marketing reasons and brand reasons and that sort of thing, that's why they went with the title. It's not a huge issue. I don't take any real, I don't have any problems with it. But, for those that are like, yeah, Lois Lane, she's going to be huge in this. I mean, yes and no. Not to the extent I think that you might be expecting. But that also brings up a really important point that I would like to touch on, because I think it is very important. Let me see here. I don't know if this page I'm looking at right now actually has their name. Oh, no, they do. So let's talk about Nadria Tucker. So she was a writer for Superman and Lois up until, I believe it was November, and then she was subsequently fired, allegedly, for claiming racism and sexism in the show's narrative, and just overall, she claimed there was a lot of misrepresentation, there was a lot of, ignorance around female characters and black people being depicted as only villains, and she brought these points up, and she says that she was fired because of it. Now, these are very big claims, especially in this day and age, and the big problem that I'm seeing is that this thing blew up, not to the extent of like, I wouldn't say that this information was like the biggest thing on the internet for its time, because I had never heard about it prior to literally the other day. But this has been circulating for the last 3 months, and the showrunners have yet to respond to it. And because of that, so I would be remiss if I didn't say that part of me wants to say it's not true, or it is exaggerated, because I really like the show. I hate to admit it, but that is part of why I want to dismiss it. But on a more logistical note, I mean, as much as it does paint a guilty target on their backs because they haven't responded, since they haven't responded in any way, shape, or form, it's hard for me to definitively say, this is true, this is what happened, this is what's going on. Everything I've seen thus far, in the pilot, I can understand where she's coming from. Again, in spoiler-free terms, I don't think it proves anything, but I don't think that anything in the pilot disproves her in any way. But, you know, it could just be that these showrunners are extremely stupid and just either... I doubt they don't know that it's been going on, but, like, you know, because I have legitimately seen celebrities who have not done anything wrong think it is better to just ignore it because they don't think a lot of people know about it. But especially now with its premiere, it's starting to get out more. And so the main reason I bring this point up is because of continuing to raise awareness for it, just so I just want a response from them. You know, I want to hear their, I guess, excuse, reasoning, response, whatever. I just want something from the showrunners, you know, because it provides a real ethical dilemma. I don't want to support something that's sexist and racist. I never want to, you know. But it is a really good show, and I would hate for it to suffer from something that isn't necessarily true. But if the showrunners continue to be silent, then, you know, especially because, again, this pilot, I can understand where she's coming from, although this is a very little piece of this show. I don't even know. Have they said how many episodes? I'm looking at it. I don't know if they've said how many episodes are going to be in this season, to be honest. Oh, 15 episodes. So, yeah, 14 45-minute episodes and 1 hour-long episode. You know, there's obviously a lot of narrative to go here, although, you know, she didn't write all 15. But, yeah, it's very troubling, and I don't like it, and I just really am pleading for the showrunners to address it in some form. You know, what are you doing? Just like I mean, my biggest thing, why did they fire her? What was their reasoning? Because, you know, what is the reason that they say, you know, that she was fired? Because who knows? I don't say this lightly, but who knows? Maybe Nadria Tucker has some, you know, mental health issues or something, and that caused her to act out irrationally. And again, I do not say this lightly, and this comes with very little knowledge of her, and so I don't want to be like, oh, she's crazy, because that has ruined people's lives. So I do not mean that in that way, but I am very interested in hearing what the showrunners have to say about why she was terminated, because I think that will help shed light. And again, because they haven't gotten back and they haven't said anything, it does make it look like she's telling the truth. And if she is telling the truth, that is very, very bad, because this is a show that is essentially, I mean, as much as I love superheroes and I love Superman, Superman could easily be perpetuated as a white savior. I mean, he is a white dude running around with superpowers, saving people. And, you know, if you have what she says, where black people are perpetuated as villains, you have a lot of racist symbolic themes going on in this show that could potentially be popping up, and that's very, very bad, and that will drastically decrease the show's viewability. And so, yeah, I needed to say that, but there's a lot more that I wanted to get into. And it doesn't feel super appropriate to get back to what I like about this show after dropping that whole bomb. But, you know, again, end of the day, I just want some sort of response from them. And, you know, and I say this to spread the word that these are the allegations being put forth. It's been 3 months, and there's still not been a peep from the showrunners. And, yeah, it's kind of stupid. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this episode down in the comments below. Like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time for whatever it is I'm doing. Alright, see ya.